Hi there everybody, and welcome to our channel, Our Little French Dream and Big Journey. My name is Sally Ann. My husband's name is Andy. He is at work, although he has handed his notice in, so that is progress. He is due to leave on the 10th of February, and hopefully our house will complete late February, early March, and we'll go through that. Want to start by saying thank you and welcome to all of the new subscribers. If during this process you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section and I will answer them in due course. So, what's been happening since our last video? Quite a lot. Okay, we've had the second viewing. We did go over to France, and that allowed us to go up into the loft space, which is all along the house itself. So that is a huge amount of room that we can work with. We have received the outline planning permission, another bonus. We have signed the preliminary contract at the notaire's office. Now, for those of you who don't know, it is very different from in the UK. You go to the notaire's office, you meet the sellers, and you both go through what is happening, the contract in every single finite detail. Ours was 158 pages. All the diagnostics we've gone through, the whole lot. It's just so in-depth. We ended up signing power of attorney at that point because one of the documents wasn't back. So rather than come back again and sign it again for the sake of one document, which we knew was going to be a fail, which was the spank report on the septic tank, we signed power of attorney so that could be done. So that has been done. We've received all 158 copies plus the additional documentation, all signed. Obviously, Andy handed his notice in. Originally due to leave, it should have been between February and March, but now we've brought it back to the 10th of February because there's still going to be quite a lot to go through. The Ministry of Interior website finally became up and running so that then we could apply for the Avis Favourable after we got the Mayor's permission to look at letting us do the Gs. That's all done. That then in turn allowed us to register for a visa, which was €60. That in turn allowed us to book an appointment at the TLS contact centre, which is the place where they collate all your documents. That was then booked. Then you tie it back to the visa to say you've done that, and you pay an extra €200 or thereabouts on the actual day. We also wanted the premium lounge, which was an extra £50 each, but it is worth it because you do end up getting everything processed at ease because you can sit down, have coffees, you can have your mobile on wheels, you can't in the normal queue. They're all stand-up booths, and they do allow you to go to the front of the biometrics queue, so that in itself was worth it. Obviously, we had to book a hotel. Main reason being is that we went for an 8:30 appointment in the morning, so I'll go through that in more detail. But on a personal note, it's quite a tough December. We lost my dad's second wife, lovely lady, reached a very, very good age of 90, had a fantastic life. Dad developed pneumonia, so he was in one of the hospitals, and it was the same week that Mum, Roz, who's actually my stepmum, Dad's third wife, her cancer treatment was delayed by a week because of high blood pressure. So quite a lot going on. We couldn't go to see Dad because I'm immunocompromised and obviously Mum has cancer. So it's quite Christmas, which was great because despite having several invites to other people's house, it allowed us just to go to people's house and say hello, see how they were doing, give them an update, but spend Christmas on the caravan. We've also spent quite a lot more money, which I'll go through in a moment. There's been quite a lot of costs, so I'll just go through that next. Okay, so costing wise, we've had my car put through its MOT. We've had it serviced. We've had the fog light changed because it needs to be on the left, not the right. We've had the lights looked at because they need to be different, so we ended up having to put European stickers on because they can't be altered without being changed. We've had a tow bar fitted and we've had a roof rack fitted. So all in all, that was about an extra 1,000. Then there's been, I'm just looking at my notes, quite a few bits and bobs needed to be able to take. We decided to take our own wallpaper from here because the choices are greater. So we've done that. But then we've also got all sorts of bits and bobs, which has added up to about an extra £400. And then we've got the fencing from here as well, because our contract states that we need to put a fence around the perimeter within the first 6 months. So although we can't take wood because it's illegal to take wood, we've got the fencing because it was cheaper here to get the fencing than it would be in France, and we also don't know if it would be available or not. So all in all, that's taken the costings up to just under 10,500 without actually having anything to show for it at the moment. Okay, so that's the costings. The visa, let me just tell you about that. Okay, now we didn't go for visitors visas, despite a couple of handholders telling us it was very difficult to get a profession liberale visa and that most people were rejected. Their advice was to go through a visitor's visa and then change it whilst there. However, having looked through Facebook, and I know there's Facebook warriors, there hasn't been anybody that's been able to come forward and gone, do you know what, I've done it. A few people have said that they are still waiting, but that's 7 months down the line. A few people have been told by the prefecture where it's done that they actually need to go home. And obviously we've sold the house. As you can see, I'm living in a caravan. So we couldn't do that from that point of view. So the process for us was as follows. We had to obtain an Avis Favourable, which is a decision on our work project on the Ministry of Interior website. And again, initially given wrong advice, you don't register on that site. You only gain a temporary password, which is valid for 2 weeks. So for us, we had to do all the documents in French. We had to save them as French titles as well. I made the mistake of doing them in French, but saving them as business plan figures. And obviously when that was submitted, they kept saying, we need the details in French. Well, if they've opened the documents, they would have seen that we're in French. So that made a couple of unnecessary delays. We also opened a French bank account, which you can only do now with an online bank. So we did that with Britline. We got what's called an RIB, which is details of your French account that people use to pay you. So we uploaded that to the site. I also did a screenshot as well, because you have to initially put €3,000 into the account to be able to open it. So that was all done. Incidentally, there is no free banking in France. So not only do they charge you a monthly fee, but they charge you to send out your debit cards. And they charge you for additional debit cards, and they charge to send you a checkbook. So no free banking. We also uploaded a copy of our bank statements. So we uploaded both of ours. So not only mine to my account, but Andy's to my account. And we put a covering letter and a note in the file as well to say that Jeets that we're intending to run are not a regulated business, and that the monies will be transferred into a French bank account in due course, and they are joint financial monies. That was very important, because the first couple of pages on the Ministry of Interior website go on about businesses being regulated, qualifications, etc. None of it is relevant. But again, it's just the way the system is. So that's done. We also put in the mayor's email to say that, yes, he's happy on us doing that. However, again, just due to timings, that hadn't come back in time for me to submit mine. So I just submitted my email to the mayor, and that seemed to be accepted. Andy, on the other hand, we put the full email in. I got my Avis Favourable back thereafter within a couple of days. Andy's took a couple of weeks. So mine was incomplete and passed, and Andy's was complete and took a lot longer. So it does beg the question that everybody says it might be down to whoever picks it up. Anyway, they're back. So the visas. We went onto the French visa website, completed the application form for the visa, and grouped Andy and myself together in the same page. so that when we then booked the TLS contact centre that we wanted to go to, using those reference numbers, it would bring up one appointment for both of us together rather than doing them individually. So that was done. Once you've booked the appointment, you then have to go back onto the visa site and tell them that you've done that, and they connect everything together. You pay €60 or thereabouts to book the TLS meeting, which is a non-refundable deposit, but you can call them if you have any issues. And then when you get to the visa, you book the rest of the visa money, which is about €200. Plus, like I said, we went for the premium lounge, which was an extra £50 each. The difference between that is quite simple. We got to sit down. We got to keep the mobiles on if we needed to. We had a confidential meeting from that point of view. It was quite difficult because for a professional liberal visa, they do say there is no list of documents that they need. You have to give them what you believe they're looking for. So we did that, did one each. Andy had to retake his photos. Don't cut the photos before you go. They don't like that at all. They do like to have their own way of doing things. Then we went for the biometrics, in which case I thought that was just fingerprints, but it's not. Again, it's more photos. So hair had to be tucked back, earrings had to be tucked out. No, literally no hair over your eyebrows. That all has to be done. But because we paid for premium, we got to the front of the queue. So our appointment was at 8:30 and we got out by about 9:30. So that wasn't too bad. We had booked a hotel, which was over £100, right next door. It was over £100 a night and it was awful, but it was done. Okay, so again, we did what we needed to do. I'll just give you a list in a moment of all the documents for the professional liberal visa as we got past. Okay, so the list of documents that we took. You have to take a copy of the application, the visa application, and its receipt that has your reference numbers on. So you do take that. You need a copy of your passport and any stamps on the pages. So you need to have 2 clean pages at the end. So if you've got oodles of stamps, you might need to double check you've got enough left. But you do need to photocopy all of the pages with the stamps on as well. We took our photos. We got visa photos from a booth here. Again, I think the main problem is that the way that they want them is slightly different. So Andy had to retake his, and I just about got away with mine. Had a fraction of a hair going over the eyebrow, which they thought might be in contention, but it passed. ACRO report, which is a police check, that was £55 each. We had to take the original and photocopy. Same with birth certificate, original and photocopy, and for me obviously marriage certificate and photocopy. We had to take the business plan in French and English, and we had to take a copy of every bank account, 3 months worth of transactions, so the last 3 months. So in mine was my current account, my ISA, those kind of things, and then I put Andy's into mine as well, and the same vice versa. I put Andy's into his and then mine into his, and I put a covering letter into both applications as well, stating that the monies, although we're in separate accounts, will be transferred over to a French bank account and they are joint monies. Otherwise, what would happen is that they look for one person to sponsor the other, and that's not the case. We took the Avis Favourable, and I also put the mayor's email at the back of that as well. And like I said, I did the covering letter. And we also gave them part of the contract for the house that actually stated the completion date was for the end of January this year. That in itself was still over 30 pages, but I thought I can't put 158 in. It was already getting quite silly. We weren't asked for anything else. Like I say, they do say to you, it's up to you to tell them what you believe you should have on your visa application when it's a professional liberal, rather than a tick box exercise, which would be easier for, say, a visitor's visa. So we didn't need private health insurance to be disclosed at that stage, so I haven't got that yet. It is mandatory in France, but it's not required for our type of visa. So we gave them that. That was on the Tuesday, 8:30. We got the biometrics done. We got an email round about 3 o'clock to say that the pack had been sent to London. We then got an email the following day to say the pack has been received. Then we received an email the same day to say they were looking for, I can't remember how they termed it, but I guessed it was the Surfer 13473, which is an 8-page document in French, literally stating, have you been to French in the last 3 years? If so, what for? Those kind of things. So we did that. We sent them, and they asked for Andy's Avis Favourable. What we'd originally seen back on Andy's file before we went was an email to say that the Avis Favourable would be considered in the same certificate format as one that said, yes, you've been granted. And there was a couple of words that were different. However, by the time we'd got that, we had got the Avis Favourable, so that was then done. So we had the appointments Tuesday, we had the emails Wednesday, I answered them Thursday, and then the following Tuesday, first thing in the morning, your passports are ready for collection. So they'd taken from Thursday afternoon through to sometime on Monday to say yes, and then everything had gone to Manchester. So then we went up to collect them on the Wednesday. Obviously, it's very nerve-wracking because they do not tell you whether you've got it or not. You go in, you give them a copy of your driver's licence and a copy of their receipt, and they give you an envelope back. And the first thing we saw was a letter. So I thought, oh, we haven't got them, it's too quick. No, we'd got them. So I took great delight on letting some of the hand holders know, I must admit, because all the advice was, no, you'll never get them. You've not been in France, you've not lived in France, you don't know the area, how do you know the market? Well, we've still got the business to do, and the proof will be in the pudding whether we make the money, but we did get the visas. So, that was that. So we now have the visas, which now must be validated within 3 months of their date in order for that process to start. We then must attend what is called an OFI meeting, OFII, which is a medical. So you have chest x-rays. You then take them to a medical where you discuss how they can support you. Then in the afternoon, you have a French conversation. So it's to establish whether you need additional support. And they can mandate 100, 200 or 400 hours of free French lessons. Don't know how that's going to go, only time will tell. Who knows? We'll let you know on that one. But we got the visas. Yay! Okay, so the next process was yesterday. The Geometre, which is the equivalent of somebody from the land registry, went out and marked what our land would be. Lovely 6-foot marking post we've now got in the garden. That now goes off to their equivalent of the land registry, so that we take that parcel of land away from the 10 acres, and that becomes our little plot, and it's registered. Now that can take about 6 weeks, so we're looking at about 6 weeks completion according to our estate agent, in which case we should get a date within the next 4 weeks of when we can meet up with a notaire and go through the actual contract and pick up the keys. Okay. So what next? We literally wait. There's quite a bit of waiting to be done now so that we can get the completion date. As soon as we get the completion date, we can look at van hire. We can then look at booking the ferries. I've joined Brittany Ferries Voyage group, which does allow us to have discounts, but it also allows our guests to have discounts on their ferries. And we've chosen Brittany Ferries. We've used them before. It's a very good set of ships, but also as well, it's only an hour from the house. So it's Portsmouth to Caen, and then from Caen straight onto the house, which is perfect. And in the meantime, we need to do more research from that point of view. I'm just looking at my notes. I've got to look at how to validate the visa, how to register the business, which I've looked into a little bit and started to write out, what words mean, what's the word for the tax office, what's the word for the Chamber of Commerce, those kind of things. We also need to look at telling HMRC that we've left the country. We need to seek the Mayor's permission to have the caravan on the land. You can't just put your caravan on your garden. So we need that permission. We need to look into health insurance, which is a minefield. Yes, I've contacted everybody under the sun with regards to health insurance. And some of them are just really stubborn. You must have this, you must have that. Well, actually, for my visa, I don't, because I've already got the visa. And as part of my visa, I will be entitled to join the healthcare system as soon as I validate my visa. And although that takes time, that is the reason why you need the health insurance from the interim of arriving to going into their social security system, so to speak, the healthcare system. So that is why we need ours. And prices range. You've got to be careful. Everybody wants you to have worldwide cover. I'm sorry, I'm only in France. I'm not intending to go to USA. Everybody wants you to have outpatients, to have dental, to have this, to have that, and no, what do they call it, deductible. Well, we've gone for a inpatient accident only with a deductible of between €2,000 and €2,500. We also want the plan to be payable in euros, because when we leave the UK, lots of UK bank accounts now will not allow us to have a UK bank account. So that ruled out those that kept saying, well, it's got to be done in either dollars or sterling. No, it needs to be done in euros from a French bank account. So that cut it down quite a bit. Then our other stipulations was it needed to be paid monthly, and we needed to be able to cancel it at any point without penalty. So say, for instance, in month 8, we got accepted into the system and we got our social security number via CPAM, then we would cancel the insurance. So that was really important that we needed to do that. One thing I would say is that whatever figure they give you, they do not add on the French tax. That's an extra 16% on top of the fees that they quote. And we have been quoted for health insurance, not travel insurance, health insurance, between €200 euros a month to nearly 1,000. Okay, depending on the cover that you want. That is a process that you do need to go through. Some do require you to go through a health questionnaire, some don't. So there are some differences in prices and in terms of quality of insurance. And obviously, you don't intend to have an accident, but you don't know when you might do. Some will actually try and divert you as well to travel insurance, which is not acceptable. It has to be private health insurance. There is a difference. So that is something we're looking at. We need to have the house insurance for the day that we go to sign the contract. So that's got to be looked at. And we need to have car insurance. So obviously we've got our car insurance for the UK and we just had the MOT. But we need to have a CT done, which is their equivalent of an MOT. That needs to be done when we get over there, so that we can then apply for the car to have its own car grid, get it registered. In order to do that, there are certain things that need to go through, and it's not going to be simple. And hence the reason why we looked at changing the lights. So we need to schedule the CT in for when we get there. And I know our local one in Sordeval does not accept European headlight stickers. Now they should, but as with all things, how much they charge you for a CT and how they want to do the CT is down to the individual garage. It's not systematical like our MOTs. So that's got to be done. I need to look into that. And the car insurance needs to be from the day that you go over as well. So I do need to find somebody or a company that will do the car insurance on either a monthly basis so that they can see the process has started, or they have temporary plates. But again, that's not necessary. So I need to look at that. Then I need to look at the marketing. I need to look at building a website. We have got a domain. So we need to do the website. We need to do a Facebook page. I have the Insta page. We've got the YouTube. And then we need to look at marketing materials. Just something simple, even like business cards, so that when people come to stay, we can give them a business card. And obviously it will be cheaper to book than it will be via a third-party platform. So we also need to look at the third-party platforms and their charges, such as Airbnb and Booking.com. There are quite a lot to go through. So that's quite a bit from that point of view. Lots of prep still to do, and I'll let you know how that goes as time goes on. Obviously, Andy's last day at work is the 10th of February. That's 19 years he spent at that place. So I'm sure we'll need a couple of weeks off before we say, right, okay, let's get back to work, let's get everything done. So all that remains to do is to say thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, if you could put them into the comments section. And if you haven't, if you could look at liking and subscribing, it will all really help. Okay, have a great week. Bye-bye.